that you will be utilizing for swine validation. The first link there is for the validation chair. And then the second link is actually for the for anybody supervising agent or teacher that will be uploading guilt restoration papers. So that's our two most important links. The next link that we have is the link that will get you into the actual portal. If you are a validation chair, you will be the one responsible for.
Tammy, real
Yes.
quick. I don't know if anybody else does. I'm not seeing your slides.
Oh, they're not sharing? Hold
No,
on.
at least not for me. So if at the top right next to
Yeah,
the red button, it says share.
I did that.
Okay, and then select the one you want to share.
Is that showing up now?
I don't see it. If anybody else does, definitely correct me. Carrie, do you see the slides?
No, ma'am, I do not.
Okay, let me try it again here. Technology always likes to fail me.
Tammy, if
Miss
it's easier.
Now I'm getting it. Hold on.
Okay.
Let me do it this way. Hold on. I thought we had it saved since, working right because it was earlier. All right.
If it's a pain, I'm happy to, if you
Here,
email it to me real
see
quick.
if this works.
Okay. But I'm happy to do it if you email it over to me while you're talking. Either way is fine.
That may be the easiest thing, Dottie.
Miss Tammy, if you have two screens, you may need to tell it which screen you want to share. You may be sharing the one that shows you, but not your screen, not your PowerPoint. So you may need to select that other screen as the one you want to share.
Okay. Window. I'm used to Zoom, and this one I'm not as familiar with. Dottie, I'm going to send this to you real quick.
Okay, yeah, go ahead and feel free to keep talking on whatever you need to get started, and I'll get it pulled up.
All right, see if that goes. My apologies. So, the validation websites are going to be the first three slides that are in that presentation that Dottie's going to pull up for us. And those will be the websites that you need as a validation chair, or if you're an agent or a teacher and you just need general information regarding the swine validation programs, then you can click on those links. I also try to have over in our resources information regarding the sheep and goat and cattle validation processes as well. Did you get that, Dottie?
Nope, it still hasn't gotten to me. Tammy, if you have it pulled up, you can click share and do the window right there on the right, and then you'll select the one that you see it.
All right, let me do that. All right, I've got it pulled up. window. Still not pulling it up, Dottie.
I am not sure, and I still haven't received it from you either.
I had it sent.
So you have it pulled up as if you were going to present it?
Yeah, it's pulled up. It's my full screen.
Okay, and so when you click window, then you should be able to select that window. Click on the word.
I've got it minimized.
Don't minimize it. Don't minimize it. Pull
All
it
right.
up and then click under the word window.
It's not showing up there. All right, so I'm back on the main screen and I go to share.
And then click window.
Window. Okay, click window. Now is it sharing?
No, I don't see it.
You see it in that window tab, Tammy?
Yeah, I see the window tab when I
So-
click on share, but then when I go to the window tab, it doesn't, and I click on window, it's not pulling up my presentation.
Do you have it already up somewhere?
Yeah, it's up.
There you go, Tammy.
Did it go?
Yep, do you see it?
Yep, see it. All right.
Perfect. All right.
On your end or my end?
It's on my end. I can click
Okay.
it for you.
All right.
So there's those
again,
links you were referring to.
All right. So here's the links that will take you to our website page, the guilt registration upload, and then the next one, if you're a validation chair, on that next slide, Dottie, if you go to the next one, it will take you into the portal where you need to input all the data and do your tag ordering. And on that next slide, Dottie, this is what it's going to look like from your side. You'll select your county, you select your password. If you are a county validation chair and you need your password, if you will contact me and my information will be at the end, then I will provide you with the information you needed to log in. Once you log into this particular system, it will give you the option to order tags. You'll also be able to print your invoice there to pay for your tags. And then it will also house all the other documents that you need as well to conduct validation. Once the validation process is over and the portals have closed and I've checked off your paperwork, all of your master tag forms, your validation envelopes, and your ethic policies will be scanned and put back into this portal so that you have an electronic copy of all those documents. If you would like a hard copy, I would recommend that you go ahead and make a copy before you send that stuff in. But again, there will be a digital copy available for you within this portal that you will have access to at all times. And then if you need to make copies from there, you could as well. Okay, any questions thus far about logging into the system as a validation chair and how to operate within the portal? It's very self-explanatory once you get in there. It's a very simple system to use. Okay, Dottie. First thing I'd like to visit with you about is the general mistakes that are made as a validation chair when you're going through the validation process. So Dottie, if you'll go to that next slide there. the biggest mistake that we have when people return their validation information to us is missing signatures on the hair envelopes, missing signatures on the ethics policy and the ear notch forms. This past year, we did change our ear notch form to a single envelope, hoping this would help with some of the processes and collecting information and signatures. And we did have fewer mistakes on our paperwork this year than we have had in the past. Another issue that we have is not getting email addresses on ethics policies. I don't know about with the other species, but we have to have an email address. Those students or those parents should have those. I would encourage you to use email addresses that do not or are not affiliated with the school, especially with kids, because sometimes we have issues getting through firewalls and like that if we need to reach out. So a personal address for that parent is the best thing that could be used. If for some reason, which I don't know many folks that don't have email addresses anymore, but if for some reason a family doesn't have an email address, let us know and we could utilize the advisor or the teacher's email address if needed. We also must have the physical location of where those animals are to be housed and the physical address of the exhibitor as well. The housing address is the critical here. We've got to have that in order to perform compliance visits if those are needed. And then the last thing that we need on that ethics policy, in addition to the signatures, is a phone number on the ethics policy, and then phone numbers on the committee forms that you have to send back as well. So that's where we find our major mistakes on all validation paperwork. Okay, Dottie. All right, this is an example. This is for reference only of our committee form. If you're the validation chair, we need you and the co-chair's information. Again, this is so that we can reach out to you if needed. And then we also will need the name and signature of any county agent or ag teacher that is serving on that particular committee with you. We need at least 3 members on this committee. So it must be you, the validation co-chair, and an additional committee member. The more, the better. I highly encourage anyone that's going to be supervising swine projects to serve as a member of this particular committee. I think it's just in your best interest, keeps you involved, and then it's also a good tool to help you learn how the process works. Our next form is our new ear notch envelope that we created for this year. So Dottie, if you could pull that up, please. This is the this is the ear notching system. Let me back up and go over that real quick. The biggest mistake we see with ear notches are people not adding those notches up correctly. Sometimes we have a tendency to get 6 when we add 3 plus 1. And I know you all don't ear notch these. They're ear notched when you purchase them from the breeders. But the main thing here is please use this as a reference, and please draw those ear notches in as close to what they actually are in those ears, because that's our first line of defense. If I read an ear notch at a stock show and I call it a 4 and other people have called it a 6, then I will go in and I will look at how it's drawn in the system. And if it matches the drawing, then we're usually good to go. But if there is a big discrepancy in the drawing between what you've drawn in and what's in the pig's actual ear, that's when we will pull DNA at the show and do a comparison on that particular pig. The ear notching system has changed a little over the years. This is still the official system recognized by the National Swine Registry, but we do have people putting an additional 27 in the pig ear to signify a litter of 200. Again, if you draw those in as you see them in the ears, regardless of what they're called, we do have some verification and clarification on those ear notches. Okay, Dottie. This is our old ear notch form. This is the one that we had prior to last year. It originally was a triplicate form. We did reduce it down to a duplicate form. This allowed you to put 8 particular pigs or individual pigs per sheet, but we were having to replicate signatures and names. And so we went to an easier system. If you can go to the envelope now. And to make that easier on you all, we're still collecting all the information that was on that larger sheet, but we have condensed it down to this to eliminate a set of signatures and name collecting that you all have to do as teachers and agents. We scan these into our system, just like we did that old form. And the thing about this form is, number one, we have prevented fewer signatures, but also now we collect these in numerical order, which is how the lab wants those that we send these to for sampling. So it's greatly reduced the amount of time on you as an agent and teacher, and it's also reduced the amount of time it takes for us as a staff to verify and collect all this information. So I hope you enjoy this particular feature of it. And we will be changing the pig's head out this year on our new envelopes to make it a happier looking pig and not so much of an angry pig. So that's our DNA sample envelope. And that's what you'll be using this year to collect those hair samples in. If for some reason you don't get enough of those in your box when you get your tags, just reach out to us and we'll make sure you get some additional envelopes. Also, when you send back, I'd like to add too that do not return your extra envelopes every year. Hang on to those in case you need those as spares. That way that we're not having to send out extras all the time, and keep those around if you need them for the next validation cycle. Okay. General swine validation information. Again, all of those documents will be housed on our website. They'll also be in your portal. County validation date forms were due May 15th. I still have a lot of those that I haven't received. So if you're one of those counties that has not sent that to me, please do so ASAP. The swine validation portal for uploading all data into the system will be July the 15th of this year. We are fluctuating that date some simply because of the Texas FFA convention with so many of our teachers involved in that. It's hard to get these things back in by July the 7th as our convention starts on the 8th. So we've extended that to July the 15th this year. All your validation materials must be organized and returned to our office with the postmark date on or before July the 15th. And the materials that you will be returning to us include a printed out master tag form, your DNA envelopes in numerical order, and I'm going to emphasize this, please just send us the signature sheet of the ethics policies and put those in alphabetical order. We do not want that entire ethics policy back. That is for your people to reference and have. All we need is the signed portion of that ethics policy. We also need the county swine validation committee form returned with that, and then your payment as well. All payments that are not received by July the 15th will be charged late fees, and accounts will be blocked for future ordering of tags. Are there any questions that I can answer thus far on the validation paperwork side of the process? Okay, Dottie, if you want to go on to the next slide. Gilt restoration. 3 years ago, we started uploading registration for gilt papers, just like the cattle, sheep, and goats. Deadline for transferring papers to exhibitors is June 30th of 2024. So that will be gilts that will be shown at the Heart of Texas and the State Fair of Texas. As of 2 years ago, gilts can be family validated and registered. What this means is that if a family has 4 or 5 kids and all kids are eligible to show, then all kids' names can be on the validation forms and or the registration papers. So if you've got Jimmy and Tom and Sue and Mary, all 4 names can be on those registration papers, which will allow any of those 4 kids to show. Please keep in mind that they all have to be eligible per show rules. Those things cannot be registered in like the name of the family, like Smith family, Smith kids, or Smith farms. It has to have each individual's exhibitor's name on the registration papers. If their name is not on the registration papers, they will not be eligible to show. Question we ran into last year, we had some gilts that were family validated, but when they registered those gilts, they only put them in one kid's name. That is the only kid that is eligible to show that gilt. So please make sure that your parents understand that if any of the kids are going to be eligible to show, they all must have their names on the registration papers. The other thing that we have to emphasize is litter registration dates. Those are the dates that the actual breeders register those gilts. Has to be on or before June 30th, 2024. And I'm going to give you an example of that in just a few minutes. The deadline for submitting the papers into the gilt registration portal is July the 15th. That will close at 11:59 p.m. Pedigrees that you can generate from the website are not registration papers. You must upload the actual or original registration papers. In the past, we've had some issues with papers being held up in the office due to genetic testing. If that's the case on a particular gilt that you purchase or one of your students or kids purchase, then you need to reach out to me at Tammy@texasffa.org. And we'll work through that process on what needs to be done to get that corrected. Okay.
Hey, Tammy, real quick, there's a question in the chat box. I'm not sure if you can see it, so I'll just read it to you real quick. Leslie asked, do we need to submit the county validation form even if we don't have any for State Fair or Heart of Texas?
No, if you don't have anything for State Fair of Heart of Texas, we do not need that. Thank you. Great question. Okay, Dottie, let's go to the next slide, please. Okay, so I've indicated the areas on registration papers that we just have visited about. And let's look down here at the bottom left-hand corner. This is where they, the associations, this particular date down here is the actual date that those papers or that particular litter of pigs was registered into the association. So that would fall well within our spring guidelines, but this is a critical date. If this date is after June 30th, then we're going to have issues approving those papers. Those breeders know, they've been told and information's been set out that they have to register those pigs before that deadline. They can register a set of pigs as soon as they hit the ground. And so they should have those registered. Our next date is right up here in the middle on the right-hand side. That's the ownership date. Again, this date has to be on or before June 30th, 2024. We don't ever have too many issues with ownership dates. The date that gets us or gets most pig exhibitors is down here in the bottom left-hand corner, and that is the actual date of litter registration. Top left-hand corner, when you upload these papers into our system, you are required to put in their registration number, their ear notches, and their date of birth. We will check those with what you've put into the system. We also will check those dates of birth to make sure they're well within the guidelines for a particular show. when you upload a set of registration papers, you're going to be required to put in 2 email addresses, and those can be the 2 addresses of your choice. When you submit a set of registration papers, there's going to be 2 emails that are automatically sent back to say that those papers have been successfully uploaded, but it does not mean they are approved, nor does it mean they are entered into a stock show. So once the deadline gets here for the submissions, I will go back through and start checking all the registration papers, just like the other species do. If your registrations are approved for show, you are going to get 2 more emails sent out that again state they have been approved for show, but it does not guarantee you entry into the show. Okay, so if they've been approved, there's going to be a total of 4 emails sent back to the 2 addresses that you turned in. Now, if for some reason a set of papers is not approved, you're going to get another email that is written by me, and it's going to tell you why those papers were not approved, and if there's anything that can be done to be corrected. Things that can be corrected are misspelled names, or every once in a while I'll get a set of papers in that were issued for a boar and not a gilt, and that was on the breeder, and we can take a correction for that. But again, if something is not approved, it's going to state why it wasn't approved and if it was a correctable situation. Any questions thus far on the gilt registration papers? Okay. Last year, like all the other species, we went to the 840 premise ID tags. All of our tags this year will still have the TX in the year. It's going to have that the shield, the United States shield, and tell you that is unlawful to remove that tag. We did have a significant decrease in the amount of tags that we had to replace this year due to going to this smaller tag, this 840 tag. Roughly speaking, we probably were 50% less tags replaced this year than in the previous years. So we had less issues from a loss standpoint utilizing these smaller tags. We did have an issue this year with some infection. As a result of these tags, we did get with the company and concluded that they sent us the wrong mail buttons. They sent us mail buttons with plastic tips instead of the metal tips that we ordered. We did have those tags reprinted, and our replacement tags this year for the major stock shows did have the metal tips, and the State Fair of Texas tags will have the metal tips as well. So that was an issue that we got worked out with the company, and those folks that did have infection issues this year that notified us at the office, we did replace those tags for free of charge. Okay, Dottie, if you can go on to the next one, please. These are the taggers that I would highly recommend that you use. We have found that this particular set of data Mars taggers, it's their universal taggers, work better than any other, simply because the needle in these taggers are about 1/8 of an inch longer, and they're just easier to put those tags in, and they secure those tags better. If you use the red handled taggers, that needle is shorter, and when you start to compress the tag into the ear, we have issues with that particular tagger, the needle going out the side and not getting those tags in correctly. So we would highly recommend that you use the blue Datamora universal taggers when tagging those pigs. The next slide, please, Dottie. Recommended tagging procedures. Please make sure you disinfect the tags between each use. Make sure that you secure the male and female tags into the applicator. making sure that that male tip aligns with the female opening and that the male tag fits snugly up on the needle. If you don't have that male tag securely secured against the top of those taggers and you start to put those in, you're going to have some issues with the tagging process. Prior to tagging that pig, again, make sure you've got that pig secured. Locate a point in that ear that you know the tag will not be placed directly into a vein or the ear cartilage. Once the tag is in place, have those exhibitors rotate those tags daily and clean with hydrogen peroxide to prevent infection. And for this particular validation period, and I know there was some talks last week on the cattle, and I did get to visit with Dr. Lansford at the Texas Pork Producers Conference over the weekend. We will continue to remove our 840 tags just like we did last fall. And once those are removed, you'll need to record those numbers on our 840 tag change form that's located on in our document section of the validation website. I will be reaching back out with him, Mr. Pianczyk, and I will be this, I've got to reach out to him today and set up a meeting, but we will discuss in great lengths just as soon as possible if there will be any changes made to this system prior to our spring validation process in November. So any questions on the 840 tags? Are the needles interchangeable? Yes, those needles are interchangeable. You'll just have to get the needle from Datamar. Good question. Okay, Dottie. This is the 840 tag change form that Dottie created for all species to use. So again, if you're going to be removing any tags, 840 tags that came in from pigs, then out of state, please, or in state, either way, please record that old number here and what the tag was, whether it was a validation premise or whatever, and then that person's name. If there was an outbreak with anything within the swine industry, this is the reference that we would use with Texas Animal Health to help track those animals. All right. Ethics policy, Dottie did a great job of going over this with the cattle, but we did have a summit meeting with the major livestock show representatives the first part of May. As advisors and agents, please ask your exhibitors and parents to read the policy closely prior to signing, and the policy numbers that were revised, tongue twisted there, were 3, 4A, 4B, and 10. Rule 3 references third-party involvement in housing locations and movement of those animals. 4A and 4B references animals that are sold in a sale or go through sales. And reference policy number 10 refers to altering an animal in any form or fashion and then using anything in the ring to enhance performance. At this time, Dottie, if you'd like to expand on 3, 4A or 4B, if you'd like to at this time, you could.
I'm good, Tammy. 3, I don't recall really an edit, but it's certainly very, very, very important. And important to note that the link goes back to our website that has that rule number 3 approval form.
Okay, and again, 4A and 4B simply refers to the sale of animals in what can be done legally for those animals. And then 10 again, that's just a reminder of altering an appearance or doing anything to enhance performance of those animals. Again, please have your parents read, students read, teachers, agents, make sure you understand. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. And again, I asked earlier, have them keep all that ethics policy except that signature page. And that signature page is the only thing that we need back to our office. Okay, Dottie. And here is that signature page. You can see that we've got exhibitor's name, physical address, that's livestock housing, mailing address of the exhibitor, signatures, exhibitor family phone number, and family email address, and then all the appropriate signatures required by the parents, supervising agent or teacher, and the validation chairmans, and the county and chapter or club that they're showing under. Okay. And that's about all the information I have. I know that was shorter than what we went over last week, but that covers all of our guidelines. If you have any additional information, there's my contact phone number and my email address. And at this time, I'll open it up for more questions if anyone has any more questions. Dottie, they're a pretty easy group.
Yeah, I guess so. This week they're quiet.
Yeah, they're real quiet.
Any questions for Tammy? And just a reminder, we have been recording, so I will share the recording after we get it cleaned up and posted on YouTube, so that you can either go back to review or send to anybody who wasn't able to attend.
Yes, and then this PowerPoint presentation is on our website as well, and any other information that you may need. And also feel free to reach out to me and have any questions answered. There was another question that come, is there an option to show a pig that does not have registration papers? Yes. State Fair of Texas and Heart of Texas does have a crossbred gilt show. So gilts that aren't registered can show there. Even if a gilt, if you submitted papers for a purebred registered gilt, and for some reason those papers were not approved, let's say that the litter registration deadline was not met, those gilts can still show in the crossbred division. So it doesn't have to be a crossbred to show in the crossbred. That can be any breed that does not have a set of registration papers. And the stock shows have been really good about working with the exhibitors that did not have papers approved to let them go on over into that crossbred division. And a lot of times those gilts have been very successful. So that's a great question. And yes, there are shows. Anyone else? Okay, one last thing. We are mailing out tags this week for those of you that ordered in April. If you still need some late tag orders, we will take those up until June the 7th. And so just reach out and we'll get you taken care of.
Thanks, Tammy.
Thank y'all.